一等しろ
With the 7th season of My Hero Academia currently ongoing, and with news that the manga will be reportedly ending now in 4 chapters, I decided why not do a tier ranking list of the first complete full seasons of My Hero Academia, the first 6 seasons. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video with season 1. Enter Izuku Midoriya, the story of how he became the world's greatest hero, by told in his narration. We get introduced to All Might in this season, characters like Kacchan. Obviously, the whole entirety of Class 1A gets introduced. Deku getting the One For All quirk transferred through All Might. Learning how to basically control the power. Getting into the entrance exam. Thinking where he's not going to get in. He does eventually get in. Hero points by rescuing Uraraka. We get introduced to Aizawa, their teacher, their homeroom teacher. Basically, he's going to be a main focal point throughout the entirety of the My Hero Academia story. We get, obviously, the tension, a lot of tension between Kacchan and Deku. Kacchan having no idea how he got into it because Deku had no quirk to begin with. He was a quirkless kid with no powers, and all of a sudden he has a superhuman strength power, but at the cost of his limbs. So Deku's still trying to hone it. We get like mock battles between the students. Deku versus Kacchan, we get the first glimpse of that. Obviously, there's like a very heated, it's more of a one-sided like rivalry because Kacchan just has this disdain for Deku for whatever reason, and then we get introduced to a bunch of other characters: Todoroki, Ida, Momo, just Usui, Mineta, just Kirishima, Kaminari, just a bunch. We get introduced to a bunch of them throughout the entirety of this first season, one by one, and then we get like the battle at the UA, SGA, I mean, and we get introduced to Shigaraki, All Might versus Nomu, and then overall, it was a great introduction. It was a great introduction to that first season. And with that, I will be ranking My Hero Season 1 in the A tier. It was a great first full season introducing us to My Hero Academia, 13 episodes, introducing us to some of the characters of 1A, All Might, Aizawa, some of the villains that are going to be playing key points in the story. So it was a great overall first season. And then we get to Season 2, the school festival. The school festival basically pitting all the students against one another. First in mock battles against one another, and then as teams. It was great. It was a great introduction to all of their characters and their quirks. Obviously, we get Class 1B in there as well. This is a great introduction for them to kind of like put themselves out there for hero agencies that could take them on for, hero coursework in the future. So kind of introducing yourself, and that's where All Might tells Deku, this is where you need to introduce yourself and say, to the world, I am here, which obviously us is watching. I think it's still a little too early, but obviously for the story, Deku has a lot of pressure put on him to kind of, go do that. He does win the first event, which puts him at 1,000,000 points after saving one battle against each other. That happens, and then we get like individual battles between one another, and we get the insane battle between Deku and Todoroki, which was the best part of the entirety of the UA festival. There was so much emotion behind it. The story, we find out the reason why Todoroki does not want to use his left side, the fire side from his father, the number 2 hero Endeavor. We get a background of that, and then he eventually does use it against Deku, and Todoroki eventually does win. But it was crazy. It was just a crazy battle, basically blowing up the entirety of the stadium. Kacchan eventually wins the entirety of the tournament. And that was a great overall. Obviously, towards the end, we get introduced to the hero killer Stain, but that's for part 2 of season 2. But for part 1 of season 2, I think it was great. I'm going to put this one under the A category as well. It was a great UA festival. It was a great mock battle, joint battle. The Deku vs Todoroki one is what put it over the top. It was a great battle overall. We get into part 2. We find out that Ida's brother has been attacked by the hero killer Stain, who's been attacking multiple heroes, or who he quotes it as fake heroes. At the same time that everyone's doing their hero studies with the hero they've chosen, the agencies that they've chosen, Deku goes with Gran Torino, which is one of All Might's masters that trained him during the One For All stages at a young age. And Deku learns to use One For All full cowling at a certain percentage, 5%, to hone the power, having all the power kind of course through his body, maintaining it at a certain percentage. He finds that out. We get Hero Killer Stain versus Ida versus Deku versus Todoroki, and that was just a great overall battle encounter. The Hero Killer Stain basically acknowledging Deku as, you know, a true hero, like not one of the fakes that he acknowledged Ida as, like Ida being a fake, like he just going using his quirk for revenge, and that's not how it should be used. But that was great overall. So I would give, it was just a great battle overall. It was just crazy how everything kind of transpired, near death experiences. I would personally rank this part 2 under the S tier. It was such a great underrated season. I don't feel like it's personally talked about enough. It's just amazing how everything kind of transpired, with, you know, what it means to be a true hero, and what it means to kind of just use your quirk for, you know, for fame, for money, and not use it for what it's meant for. And that's the idealism of Hero Killer Stain, to the point where it shook everyone to its core. You know, not even Endeavor could even, like, you know, stand up to him. Like, he even saved Deku when he was being taken away by one of the Nomus. He basically, you know, his quirk being Blood Curdle, which can, you know, freeze people with the blood. He went after, saved Deku, and basically was saying, "I'm gonna, like, destroy this society. Like, the only hero that can kill me is All Might," which is obviously the only hero that he's fully acknowledged as a true hero is All Might. So it was crazy that how everything happened. We get a little bit of everyone's, you know, hero course training and kind of what happened throughout, and that was about it. Then we get into season 3. Season 3, basically the obviously the camp, where basically the heroes went to go kind of oversee, or some of the heroes from the school went to go oversee the training for Class 1A, honing their quirks even more at full strength, at full power, kind of honing their skills. We find out that the villains find out the location of where they're at, and it just turns into a big, like, just crazy cluster of obviously the heroes trying to find their students, the students trying to escape. We get one of my favorite, if not my favorite, scenes to this date of My Hero Academia was Deku versus Muscular. That right there was the epitome of what My Hero Academia is all about. Deku basically protecting young Kota from Muscular, risking his life, his one for all not being enough at first, and looking like it was going to be the end for Deku. Kota basically releasing his quirk, Deku rising from the ashes, one for all, 1,000,000% of complete full smash, Delaware Detroit smash on Muscular. Such a great scene. The still of Deku, you know, posing. It was just everything that embodied of what a hero should be. Deku was right there. That was such an amazing, emotional scene. And then we obviously find out later on that Kachan ends up getting captured by the villains, taken away, and that was just, there was just so much going on. Obviously, I think it was a great overall part 1 of part 3. It was just crazy how everything transpired. And then we end up getting eventually in that same season as well, we get the eventual one for all battle with All For One. All Might and All For One final encounter, their final battle. Basically them trying to do a rescue mission to save Kachan from the grasp of the villains, so the villains thought they can kind of turn to their side, because obviously Kachan was acting, his demeanor and his tendencies tend to kind of give off like a villainy vibe, but we find out that it's just like his superiority complex and wanting to be the best at everything. It has nothing to do with him being a villain, but the villains thought they could kind of mold and change that. That aside, one for all, All Might comes, they save Kachan, they think they saved them, they thought they got him, but then Kachan gets transferred away. Obviously, in a different scenario, we see Deku, Kirishima, Momo, Todoroki, Ida basically trying to save Kachan without having to kind of get involved in, like, battle-wise. We get introduced to All For One and what a scary sight it was. Then we get All Might coming. They end up saving Kachan with the rescue mission, and then that leaves All For One versus All Might. Crazy battle, crazy story. We get a background of little things here and there. We find out that Shigaraki is actually the grand son of his predecessor, Nana Shimura. And then it just goes crazy from that point on. The rest of the heroes come to try to help All Might and assist him. All Might's form no longer is able to kind of withstand his All Might form. He's in his skeletal state, which everyone sees. He only has the embers left of One For All. We get flashbacks of him trying to remember where he started, Nana Shimura on his head, and then we get the crazy final, one for all United States smash, ending All For One, giving him one great USA smash to the face. All Might pointing to the monitor saying, "You're next." Obviously, we all know it's referring to Deku because Deku now has, One For All as a whole. The last embers of One For All have left All Might's body. It's emotional. It's foreshadowing to what eventually will be Deku's responsibility to fight the greater evil that is All For One and Shigaraki eventually in the future. It was a great end to part one of My Hero Academia, so that's why I would put that in the A tier. Then we get the provisional licensing exams where they get their provisional license. That was great. Everyone getting introduced. We get to meet high schoolers from Chuketsu High, a bunch of different participants showing off their skills, their teamwork, how everyone's kind of like, whether they're there or not, they're motivated through Deku and Kacchan, their will to win, their coordination, their teamwork, everything always basically starts with Deku or Kacchan. Because they're like, without being the leader, they're the leaders of that entirety of that class. So it was a great introduction to that. Then we get introduced to Lemillion, the big three. Obviously, Lemillion's quirk is absolutely crazy broken. Just insane how his quirk kind of like works. And it's not because he's blessed with that quirk. He had to make that quirk work and become his own. We get introduced to that later on, but he kind of explains it little by little how his quirk works. So it's crazy. But we get an introduction to Lemillion, the big three, Nejire. And I'm like drawing a blank on the other big three member, but we get introduced to those three characters, and that's the end of season 3. And I would put that in the B. It was a great introduction to the provisional exams, to Lemillion. But now we get to season 4 of My Hero Academia, and that is where Deku basically goes into the Night Eye agency with Lemillion. We find out about the villain, Overhaul, who we see in the first couple episodes introduced, trying to see if he's going to join the League of Villains with Shigaraki. Obviously, that doesn't turn out how he wants it to turn out. Shigaraki, I mean. We get one death on their side and one death on Overhaul's side. But then, obviously, we find out that there's a young girl named Eri that's being basically held by them. And that right there was kind of crazy to see how she was being used. She has a rewind quirk that basically they were kind of dissecting her body and kind of storing it into like these bullets to erase quirks. At the time, that's what we thought. It is, her ability to erase quirks, because they were kind of manifesting them into bullets. We eventually get the raid of the Shie Hasakai, different hero groups that we see with Fat Gum, Kirishima, Nejire, Uraraka, Sue, Rigoku, obviously Night Eye, Deku. We see different Lemillion. We see different types of groups form within that raid, and then we get to the eventual Lemillion one-on-one with with Overhaul. With Overhaul, and how he was basically overmatching him with his raw power, and obviously his quirk, just crazy how his quirk was just like overmatching him, and trying to protect Eri. Eri seems like she's about to get shot with, and Lemillion stands in her way, sacrificing his quirk. We get a little background of his quirk and how it worked and how he struggled with it, to how he became Lemillion, and even after not having his quirk anymore, still fought Overhaul with his crazy combat skills that he picked up training with Night Eye, his still overwhelming raw strength, trying to save her. And when it looked like Lemillion was about to be done, Deku crashes, and then we get Deku versus Overhaul. Night Eye eventually joins the fray, and Night Eye basically trying to use his quirk to try to predict, the movements. His quirk basically is predicting like every movement, every future movement within the next, I think, 60 seconds or 2 minutes, whatever it was. He was trying to predict the movements. That's what he sees, or he can even see well into the future. But he was trying to use it for that moment against Overhaul. He gets pierced through. Then it's Deku versus Overhaul. We find out Eri's quirk strapping to Deku versus Overhaul. Deku's able to use 100% of his power without any of the drawbacks, as long as he has Eri with him. Deku uses 100%, which is a crazy scene. Not just that power up, that charge up scene of Deku going one for all 100% was crazy, with none of the drawbacks of him breaking his bones, just full control of 100% of his power, sending Overhaul to the air, and then giving him a crazy, what I think is a Detroit smash. Which is the aura that Deku was displaying in that one scene. Like Deku didn't look like a hero. Deku looked like someone that was having the malicious intent to murder someone. Like that punch did not hold back. He was just trying to absolutely decapitate Overhaul and obviously we're seeing it from Overhaul's point of view, just like the destructive evil that was being laid before him. So he gave him one big massive Detroit smash and just laid him out entirely. And that was right there the end of Overhaul. Obviously Deku eventually get we saw the drawbacks of Eri not fully having control over power, almost sucking Deku of his entirety of power, Aizawa being there to stop the quirk. But that in itself was just crazy. That entire scene, just Deku just being at a 100% one for all, was just crazy to see at the time, because obviously we had seen the struggle of him using one for all of his power, just constantly breaking his bones. So just seeing that into fruition was just crazy to see. But Night Eye eventually gets taken away to an ambulance. Overhaul, same thing as well, being transported to the prison, but Shigaraki gets some, decays his quirk, so Overhaul is quirkless now. And obviously we find out later that Night Eye didn't make it. He succumbed to his injuries, and it wasn't there wasn't enough to save him. Not even Recovery Girl or whatever medical science technology they had. It wasn't enough. Night Eye passes away. But before he passes away, he basically tells Deku that he made him believe in a bright future. He made him believe that you can change your fate, you can change your destiny, and he saw that through Deku and the rest of the heroes that were there. And he basically uses his quirk one last time on Lemillion and basically tells them, "You're going to be okay. I see a bright future, and you're going to be a great, fine hero." He passes away to his injuries, and that was it for part 1 of My Hero Academia season 4, which I personally would put that in the S tier. Just seeing Deku at 100% one for all, seeing how overpowered Lemillion was, just seeing the emotional distress throughout the entirety of that part 1 of that season was just, for me, it's an S tier. Like I said, these are my opinions, so let me know what you guys think when you guys do your little S tier ranking as well. Part 2 was the UA school festival, where they're just trying to put on a show for the entirety of the school. Obviously there's been a lot that's been going on throughout the entirety of the school year. So we get basically Eri being introduced to the school, being shown around with the Lemillion and Deku. Everyone kind of getting ready to put on a performance. Every class 1A, class 1B, all the other classes. We get introduced to the Gentle Criminal. He was someone that was trying to become a hero, but obviously society kind of formed him to how he was, with La Brava, which is his assistant. And we see Deku battle him one-on-one. They kind of share similar ideals, trying to like make changes for the future, wanting to see a better future. Obviously Deku overpowers him. We see a St. Louis smash. Gento basically sees similarities, he shares similar traits that I share, but obviously I went down this path, he went down this path. Deku, and vice versa with Deku, basically saying like, if I could have became this, I was kind of ostracized. I didn't have a quirk. I almost gave up on my dream to become a hero, but with the people that were behind me, that forced me ahead, that motivated me, I had something to push myself even further beyond. And obviously that's why Deku said, like, it wasn't his toughest guy to fight in terms of combat strength. It was ideology. It was tough because we share similar ideologies, but he went about it in the wrong way. He gets put away. We get to the school festival. It ends up going without a hitch. We see the beautiful UA Class 1A festival song, or the performance that gets put on. We see Eri, the last glimpses of Overhaul leaving her body, with her fully smiling. It was such a beautiful, emotional moment. Looking back on it and watching it got me teary-eyed, just seeing all the things that Eri put through, all the things that she had to basically, withstand. Now finally being thrown off her shoulder, being all the last traces of evil being erased from her body, fully smiling. We see Lemillion smiling. We see him saying like, Night Eye, sir, Deku, like, do you see her? She's smiling. Like, it was a beautiful moment. It was a beautiful send off. It was just an amazing moment. And I would put this one in the B. It wasn't greatly fast paced or anything. It was just, it got along. Like, everything kind of, went at its own slow little pace. It was more kind of like, the aftermath of the storm. The storm already happened. It was just the aftermath, kind of, putting things together, kind of gluing things along and making sure everything kind of goes smoothly. And then excuse me. Um, we also get, I believe in that same season, we also get we also get that crazy battle between Endeavor and the Hayanomu, which was absolutely insane, absolutely crazy. We see basically Endeavor being shown to the world that he is the number one hero, and like even though All Might's gone, we have a new hope, we have a new light, and Endeavor is going to be that burning flame that never goes out. That Prominence burn plus Ultra was just crazy. It was just a crazy sequence of him actually saying plus Ultra, and just obviously us thinking that it was going to be the end of of Endeavor. But then him standing tall with the pose, it was just crazy to see all that, that heroes must continue to forge ahead and, move on. And obviously it was just a great ending to the season as a whole. I take that back. I'm going to put this one in the A category because everything was kind of separated into like different like parts, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 1 or part 2. Everything was kind of meshed because we got Deku, we got the overhaul arc, we got the the little mini school festival arc, and then we got Endeavor's resurgence as the number one hero, basically showing the world that he's here to basically protect and be the hero. I don't know, it was just it was crazy. That prominence burn, man, crazy. Then we get into season 5 of My Hero Academia, and it starts off with a joint battle between Class 1A and Class 1B. Everyone's joined into different groups. We see everyone kind of like not sort of manifesting new quirks or like upgrades of their quirk. We see Iida's bursting speed, Todoroki as well. We see Deku basically we start to get this like the manifestation of Deku, because obviously One For All has many quirks now that we find out. So we see the manifestation of Black Whip kind of going out of control. Eventually, it's stopped by Shinzo using his brain control to kind of stop him. We see a variety of different things throughout those joint battles. Class 1B getting some victories, Class 1A getting some victories. Overall, we just see like that these heroes, this new group of heroes, are going to be a problem once they fully manifest and fully control and hone their quirk to themselves. And it's just gonna, everyone in these joint battles has like their little shining moments throughout the mock battles, and it was just cool to see. That was a great start off to the season of season 5. It was kind of like I guess the story was more seeing that Deku was manifesting a quirk. Like we thought his quirk was just like raw strength, raw speed, but now we see like a whippy type of black quirk coming out of his body. So it adds more questions to like what exactly is Deku's quirk per se. It was just crazy. It was crazy. And then I would put the beginning of that. I would put that in the A category. No, B category. I would put that in the B category. And then we get Deku basically going with Todoroki and Kacchan to join Endeavor's agency. Hero work from there, learning to manifest their powers there. Obviously, Deku gets a better control of Black Whip. Great advice from Endeavor. We see Hawks for a little bit, kind of dropping. Excuse me. Little parse. We get Hawks dropping little hints about something that could be going down to Endeavor, but obviously him not being able to tell Endeavor fully. So kind of giving it to him in code. Obviously, Endeavor's smart enough to kind of figure it out at some point. But we get little hidden messages from Hawk that something big is coming. And I would put that one under the B category as well. And what ends up coming is, I don't have it ranked here, but we're going to put that in the B category. We get basically Shigaraki and his group versus the Meta Liberation Army. And it was just one full episodes of just the villains, Shigaraki and his League of Villains with Toga, Dabi, and everyone else against the Liberation Army. And then obviously Shigaraki manifesting a stronger Decay that he's had before, and obviously taking over the Liberation Army, and now them forming like a full alliance, which ends up being bad for the villains, but not bad for the villains, bad for the heroes, great for the villains, because they basically stop the Meta Liberation Army. There's like some deaths on the Liberation Army side. Obviously, we see Toga manifest a new quirk too, or not a new quirk, but just like a quirk manifestation, like a a quirk awakening. Basically, now she's able to use the quirk of the people that she takes blood from. She was able to use Uraraka's, Uravity quirk to levitate, and obviously eliminate the enemy that she had in front of her. So that's crazy. And then obviously, we find out about Twice's quirk awakening, where he can just multiply millions of different beings of himself, but also you can use their quirk too. Like, it's crazy. It's just something crazy that we get as far as these awakenings go, that this just happens. Like, oh my goodness, it's crazy. And you know what? I think I would put that one in the A category because of what we saw. Then we get the introduction to the war arc between Shigaraki and the heroes. We get some deaths on the hero side. The hero Crust, who was I think the 7th ranked hero, obviously, which was surprising to me. That kind of caught me off guard. But Midnight is one of the casualties of the war arc, which was crazy. We get introduced to the actual fighting skills of Mirko, the bunny hero, and she's just raw power and strength. Like, it's crazy. Like, she just is unhinged to the extreme. I mean, she became one of my favorite characters of that season. But obviously we get everyone else that comes. We see the reintroduction of Lemillion. Lemillion's quirk was restored by Eri. Eri was able to hone her quirk and restore Lemillion's power, and he comes out of nowhere with power, and just seeing that just brought so much joy to me, elation, emotion. Like, obviously, like, now we got Lemillion back. We got Lemillion back because everything was seeming to kind of go AWire. Like, Deku was struggling, Todoroki, Kacchan, Aizawa, everyone was struggling. And then we just see power. We just see Lemillion just pop up. It was amazing. On the other side, we find out that Dabi reveals to everyone, he kind of erases the black hair that he had, and obviously it's revealed to be white hair. He reveals to everyone who he broadcasts to that he is Enji Todoroki. He is the son that Endeavor basically created or killed, and now because of Endeavor's failures as a father, this is what has happened. And obviously Hero Society, the public society, was starting to see Endeavor in a new light, but now that's completely changed because of what's happened. And obviously, Endeavor not being able to respond, to move, like, he was just in shock. Like, he can't believe it. He was just frozen still, and Todoroki basically telling his dad, like, Dad, like, we'll cry, we'll talk about this later. Like, you need to act now. And then we see Blue Genius come back out of nowhere, save the day to who we thought was gone, who we thought was dead and just gone. Who we thought Hawks was the one that eliminated. Because remember, Hawks, I failed to mention it, but Hawks was one of the ones that was involved in being one of the spies for the villains. And basically, to prove himself to him, he had to show, that he killed the hero, and it was like Best Genius. I don't know how they pulled it off, but he showed Best Genius' body. It was there, so they kind of had trust in him, even though Dabi never really had trust. They eventually had to kill Twice, not because Hawks wanted to. Hawks wanted to change him to his side because he knew deep down that Twice was a good person, but he knew Twice was a good person, but Twice was too loyal to his friendship, his friends that accepted him for who he was. And Hawks had to basically eliminate him because that quirk would have been too overpowered for the villains to have. Like, he had to eliminate him. Dabi ends up frying Hawks. Tokoyami ends up saving him. Oh my goodness, I'm just so much talking. Getting excited over this, just reliving these seasons. But it was just a lot that kind of was going on. Twice dies. Dabi ends up trying to almost killing Hawks. Tokoyami saving him. But yeah, we find out that Best Genius was alive, and he saves Endeavor from obviously being fried. Todoroki too. So that was crazy to see that too. But just the pure shock of Endeavor's face just frozen in that moment in time, like he was just like, he couldn't believe it. And obviously now the public is seeing all this, and they're like, wait, Endeavor is like, he's a horrible person, all that happens. And then Deku basically going at it with Shigaraki, not able at that time to save everyone. Obviously it was kind of at a mainstream, like, yes, the war was not over, but the battle was clearly won by the villains. Like, the heroes lost this battle. Like, it was done. Like, there was too many casualties on the hero side, so they had to retreat. Deku trying his best, but it just wasn't enough. Kacchan even sacrificing himself, who we thought at the time was gonna die too because he got pierced, but he ended up surviving, saving Deku. Deku was just kind of going all out and just going raging with his one for all quirk, but he ends up basically saving. They end up basically kind of going their own separate ways. And then, it was just kind of a crazy scene how everything kind of transpired, but they kind of go their separate ways. I'm going to put this, there was so much. I'm going to put this one in the A category. Like, it was a great season. There was casualties. There was raw emotion. There was the returns of Blue Genius, or no, Blue Genius, Best Genius, Lemillion. That was just great to see. It was just frantic. There's so much I can keep going forward, and I don't want to kind of overlap the video. But then we get part 2 of season 6, which was Dark Deku, Vigilante Deku, where Deku kind of just like, he kind of goes off on his own. Trying to find answers for All For One. And basically, there was points and times throughout that entirety of the season where Deku didn't even look like a hero anymore. Like, he had lost parts of his ways. Like, he was just trying to find answers. He looked very villainous. Even like Stain points out, even taking a glance at him, you wouldn't even think he's a hero. Just his raw, menacing aura that he was giving off, just like, this was like a whole new Deku. Like, Deku's whole entire mindset had changed, and he one shot. Like, we get introduced to Muscular again. He one shots Muscular. Like, it wasn't even a battle. Like, it was just a quick boom, boom, smash, done. Like, he just eliminating him. Then we get introduced to Lady Najin. Great character. Get a little background on her. Wish she could have extended longer in her background, because she has a very depressing background, and obviously about how she was used by Hero Society and what molded her to what she is. Deku ends up defeating her with a new quirk that manifested called Fajin, giving him extra speed. Him saving Lady Najin, but then Lady Najin being installed with an All For One bomb that detonated, but her being saved. Hawk scooping in. Lady Najin ends up surviving the injuries. We then later find out that Class 1A goes out to search for Deku to bring him back. To everyone, that he shouldn't be doing this on his own. Like, he has a support system. Deku constantly spinning to them, like, you can't, like, you guys can't keep up. You're not strong enough. Like, it has to be me. It's one for all versus All For One. Obviously, he ends up, if he really wanted to, because Deku was already like depleted in energy. He had barely eaten anything. He even abandoned All Might at one point. Just left them, like, All Might no longer being that person that Deku would look up to, because obviously now Deku is like his own person with One For All, and like, not wanting All Might to get in the way. He could have easily, if he wanted to, like, intent to fight back, he could have probably taken all of them out, but he was just playing defensive. And he ended up basically, being convinced, by Ida, like, meddling where you don't belong is the essence of being a hero, right? Like, that was a callback that I remember as well. And then also, like, basically reinstating, like, the close friendship that they have. And it was emotional. Kacchan ends up apologizing to Deku for everything that he did. They have already kind of mended, some things. They were kind of talking on an okay basis, but then Deku sees that Kacchan apologizes for everything, from the bullying from their early childhood, teenagehood, like his superiority complex, just apologizing for everything. You get a callback from their childhood days, their teenage days, and it was a great scene. They eventually take Deku back. It was an emotional episode. Obviously, the publics that are there don't want Deku there, because obviously wherever he goes, he just brings, harm. Uraraka makes a fantastic speech about Deku, and, he's out there and fighting and battling for you guys, and, you guys are just like, come on, like, he just needs a couple of days to rest. Like, it's the least you guys can allow him to do. Like, he's out there fighting for you guys, for your safety and protecting you guys, and what are you guys doing, essentially? So Uraraka just has a powerful speech. Deku gets emotional. They end up, convincing him. We see a callback from the first episode of My Hero, that guy with like the little porky sticks in his head. We see a callback from that, of like, yeah, just let him stay. Like, he's out there basically protecting us, and the least he can do is let him rest and recover, and then go finish what needs to be done. So that's kind of how the season ends. We get like a quick little image of a new hero that's going to be introduced, that's going to fight Shigaraki. What it looks like is which is Star and Stripes, which is another overpowered hero that we're going to see go one-on-one, and that's in season 7. But we were just doing the first 6 seasons, but that was my ranking. I'm going to put this one under the A category. It was a great season overall. There was really no bad seasons overall. There was some slow-paced ones that I still thought were good and that meshed out pretty well. So I wouldn't recommend. Me personally, I don't give anything a C or a D. I think everything was like a couple of S tiers, A tiers, B tiers. Like there were some great seasons overall as far as the pacing goes, as far as the story, the emotion, the character development, everything as a whole. But like I said, this is my personal opinion on my personal My Hero Academia tier ranking for the first 6 seasons. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, what your personal tier rankings would be for the first 6 seasons of My Hero Academia. But that's it for today. Be on the lookout for another video that I'm going to be dropping tomorrow. Don't know what the topic's going to be about yet. I'm going to leave my Twitter handle on the bottom so you guys can message me there. My Instagram as well. On my Instagram, I do a lot of anime news announcements. Same thing for TikTok, Twitter. I'm going to be basically posting more YouTube-based stuff and asking me what you guys want me to post or what kind of tier ranking you guys want me to do next. But as of now, that's it, guys. I will see you guys next time.